This is a whale?
Yeah. That's my whale mug. And then when you drink, there's another little tail inside the cup.
Interesting.
I got it at a thrift store in Long Beach for $1.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm really glad we didn't name this podcast Sip Sip Knit, because the idea of like getting it together to make a cocktail every time is proving untenable. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad we just
having coffee today, even though it's 2 in the afternoon right now.
That's true. It's overcast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No sense of time anymore.
Argus is here.
Yep. Breathing hard in the microphone as usual.
I'm Coco.
I'm Marika.
And we're Serial Knitters. This is a podcast about knitting. Mm-hmm. And the knitting content is heavy today. Mm-hmm. I think we've had a really poor showing of being consistent. So maybe in the next year we'll get better about that.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a bit of a crazy couple months.
Yeah.
I was traveling for a bit. Work has been insane.
We work at the same place. Mm-hmm. So while Marika was traveling, I was left at home to man the shop. And it has not gone well, which is reflected in my knitting. It's just been busy.
Yeah, just been really busy. So, should we get started? You want to start? We'll start with finished objects? Is that what we usually do? I've forgotten at this point.
Right, exactly. Also, I feel like we've recorded a bunch of, we've recorded 2 episodes, one of which the audio was so bad it will be lost to time. Mm-hmm. And then the other one,
still in the process of being edited because I lost one of the SD cards.
Right, so maybe also lost to the winds of time. Who knows? So I'm not sure if we've talked about what I'm wearing today officially, but assuming that we haven't because we lost those 2, then this is my Tecumseh. That's what I'm wearing. It is made out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft. Mm-hmm. And I decided to do kind of, let me just pop up a little, oh jeez, this couch. Okay, it's a little cropped version. Mm-hmm. So this is I can stand up like a normal person. Okay, this is, the top of my pants, they're really high, super high-waisted pants. So I, just barely made it longer than the sleeves basically because I'm short. So this is more than enough.
Normal in the regular pattern, there's a 3rd repeat of this detail. Yeah. Right? Then you stopped after the 3rd repeat of the crosses.
Right, because if this is where my hip is, clearly, hey, if I had done another repeat, we would be hemming down here, which just is too long for someone of my height. So I had seen Christina from the Chelsea Pearls podcast do a cropped version. It's almost Swancho-esque because I kept the drop sleeve. Oh, this way. I kept the drop sleeve. I know a lot of people try to separate for the sleeves up higher so that you get, a good sleeve separation up there. But I kept the drop sleeves and then made it a crop. So it's borderline Swancho. But since we live in Southern California, I like the breeze. Mm-hmm. It helps me be able to wear it for longer, which is part of the reason why I keep going back to that Nanilchik Swancho that is very contentious. Mm-hmm. Everybody who has knit it seems like either they really love it or after they knit it, they realize it's not super functional because you can't really put a bag over your shoulder because it gets all caught up underneath there. But I have a serious devotion to ponchos. In my life ever since I was a child. I just really like ponchos. So I keep trying to make it work. Mm-hmm. I keep trying to figure out what the color scheme is that's not going to kind of dwarf me because it's an all over pattern. Kind of, the same way that this one is, but yeah. Other things about this one, it's the base color is postcard and I'm obsessed. I feel like every time we walk into a store that has Brooklyn Tweed, I always grab this color, and I'm like, maybe I should do my next project in this color, and then you have to remind me, isn't your Tecumseh in that color? I'm like, yes. I would please like to have everything in this color. That'd be great. I had seen another woman do it in shades of purple. So that was my inspiration. I was like, okay, I'm going to do what she did and try to keep it in shades of purple. But then while we were trying to decide what the colors should be, I saw this rust color and these top crosses, and my inability to make decisions came into play, and so I decided I will do like the ring collar with the rust and then the lavender for the edges. And since I was only doing one repeat, I decided to add a little extra crosses down here. So you got 3 of the crosses, but not the leaf pattern all over again. That's it. Yeah. It's great. It's great for this yarn. The Loft is very rustic, but
yeah, it's like
very woolly. But it is surprisingly light. Like, this sweater weighs nothing, and I overheat all the time. So I feel like if it was any heavier, I wouldn't be able to wear it here in California. But because it's like it weighs nothing, and it kind of like floats off the body, even though it's like super woolly feeling. It's very rustic feeling. It's not really dense. So I'd be interested to see like how people in other climates feel like it performs. But for here, I just want everything out of it. But maybe they'll win the lotto. That's what I'll do. So that's my finished object. And yours, we've discussed before.
Yeah, we can skip this one.
We can skip it.
And then I can move on to, what do I have over here? I'll do this one first. So I did the Lydia 2.0 tank, and I'm still weaving in some ends, and I have to block it. But here's my finished project. So the lace is really hard to see at the bottom right now.
There you go. Now you can see.
Since it's not blocked. And I decided to knit it, and then there's the back.
Are you gonna wear? I've heard that you can wear it with the deep V in the front.
Yeah, I think it's reversible. I haven't tried it on with the V in the front yet, so I'm not sure how functional it will be yet. Yeah, just have to weave in some ends and block it. This is the first lace piece I've done, and so she recommends blocking it with using blocking wires.
Yeah.
Which I don't own and have never done before.
Oh, Cameron's my husband. I don't know where he put my blocking pins. So now everything I have, I'm just like, trying to lay out.
But I do have blocking pins.
Good.
And I've watched a bunch of very pink knit tutorials. So I might try and just do it with the blocking pins, so I don't have to buy something else. Because they're like, it's like everything I found is like $25 to $30, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to make that investment when I only have one lace piece.
I wonder, functionally, like, what are you attempting to do with this, with the blocking? Like, how do they work?
So from what I saw for lace, you kind of, because the idea is like it needs to open up.
Yes.
So like if we do it this way, like this is how it is now.
Yeah.
And then what it needs to be is like that. It's hard to see. But and so from what I understand with the blocking wires, and it also has like it should have a scalloped edge.
Right.
So from what I understand from the blocking wires, you can run them through the bottom parts that you want to have stick up beyond. So it's not flat. Yeah. So these two pieces, you would run the wire through there. Yeah. And then you just pin the wire straight, and it pulls all of these points down.
So I was asking because I'm wondering, could you buy floral wire?
I think the problem is that the floral wire, since it comes wound, you have to straighten it yourself. Yeah. Whereas the blocking wires are already straight, and they're somewhat flexible, but they're going to start straight.
Okay. Just trying to look for a
but I
hanger?
Maybe, but I think with the blocking pins, I have a blocking mat with a grid on it, so there's my straight line. I just have to make sure all the pins are in alignment.
Right.
And then the other thing is, which I didn't think about it until now that it's done, but there's 2 ways to knit it. You can knit it in the round, which I did because I was like, I don't want to fucking purl. And then, or you can knit it flat, knit the front flat, back flat, and then block it and then sew it together. So the only thing I think knitting it flat would help with the lace blocking easier. You're gonna
because you get each side. You can like. Yeah.
Whereas now I have to worry about lining up the front and back when I block it.
The back of my stuff is always like, just pray on it, because I have no idea what's going to go on. Because, like,
so I was hoping the wires, too, would help with that, because then I can just run them through the front and the back, and then everything is good to go.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to, I mean, theoretically, I could do it with the pins, too, but it's just, I'm too lazy.
Well, Christmas is coming
So
up.
it's like, cheap, lazy. What's going to win out here? So that's my first finished object.
Wait.
I knitted it out of Purl Soho. I don't remember what it's called. So I had a chance to look it up. So it is the Purl Soho Mulberry Merino is the yarn used. I'm not sure of the colorway.
But it is a foresty green, very plump. What's the fiber content? Oh, sorry.
I don't know these things.
Because I'm just thinking, like, for a tank top, I would think I would overheat in this guy.
80% wool and 20% silk.
Right.
But I thought, you know, since it's a tank top, it's pretty open.
Yep.
You know, there's not a lot of coverage.
Nope.
So I thought, you know, it should be fine.
What are you thinking of pairing with it?
I'll probably have like a high-waisted skirt with it. It might be if I ever sew together the pieces of that skirt I cut out, maybe it'll be that one.
Oh, no.
No?
No.
You don't think I'll go with that?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll find something else for it then.
What about the experience of knitting it? How'd you feel about the lace? You said it's your first time?
Yeah, it was nice. It definitely helped. I've placed, you know, markers at every repeat, which definitely helped, because otherwise I would have been totally lost and it would have been done from the get-go. And then once you're done with the lace, it's just this repeat. I think it's like knit 7, purl 1, and just repeat it all around. And then I had done the Valentine sweater, which had a similar neck bind-off detail, so it's got, which I also have to block. In the front, it's closed off, but in the back, it has this open square detail, which was pretty similar to the Valentine neckline, so that was pretty familiar.
Nice.
But yeah. So yeah,
good piece.
Overall nice.
Excited?
Yeah.
You like the yarn? Great.
I have a decent amount left. Not enough to make another shirt, but enough to incorporate into something, so I'm acquiring a lot of
leftovers.
So gonna have to get creative. I've been looking at a lot of this woman. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but her Instagram handle is Larkerbagger, LARKEBAGGER, I think. And she does a lot of scrap knitting and a lot of brioche stitch, where she'll use like white as a base and then incorporate all of these different scrap yarns and colors into the channels of the brioche. And they're really fun, like chunky, eclectic knits, and she also uses a lot of beads. And so I've been looking at a bunch of her stuff and trying to like get inspired and figure out ways to incorporate all of the scraps I have.
Yeah. And that one's DK weight, right?
No, it's sport.
Sport.
According to Ravelry.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I was sitting here like, oh, I don't have any finished objects, and then I realized I have a ton of hats. Okay, so I need my list. The first one is the Lake Reed hat by Asita Krebs. It's still damp because I just finished it. But it's got this little cable. I guess I gotta show it this way so you can see it. Yeah. So it's got this cable running all the way around it. I knit it out of loop. What is something moon? Juniper moon, Patagonia. So it's a 100% organic wool. And I have been struggling with what the yarn says that it is versus what it actually comes out to be, your battery's low. So just quickly, they said that this was a DK weight yarn, and it doesn't feel at all like what you just said was a sport weight yarn. Like, it's super thin. And like, I don't know. I would have thought this was a fingering weight yarn. Anyways, this isn't a hat for me. I probably shouldn't have put it on because my head's really big and I'm going to stretch it out. But it's for my husband's dad. So hopefully it comes together. But it's very woodsy, but very light.
Yeah, it is really light. Yeah, I was really surprised when you handed it to me. Yeah. I was like, oh.
Super light. So it is definitely a pattern I would redo. There are a couple of times where I messed up the cable, but he's not going to really care. I don't know how I feel about the yarn, though. That I had such a hard time kind of understanding what pattern it was going to be good for. And this had so many holes in it, like gaps. And I was just praying that it would plump up enough to fill in the gaps. And I think it has, but not in a glorious way that I was expecting. I was expecting it to like basically be one of those shrinky toys that just like grows once you put it in water or something, but no, it didn't do that. It got marginally better. It'll be fine. He'll still like it, but I'm really perplexed as to what this yarn weight really should be. So this is this one. Okay. It's a good pattern.
We're going to recharge the battery.
Okay. We got a little bit of a time crunch because we got a battery that's not 100%. The light is fading. And there's too many things.
So many things to get through.
Yeah. So I'm going to blow through some hats. Okay. Because it doesn't really matter. All of these hats were made because I was having a really hard time in my life. And I couldn't do any of the projects that we have discussed previously because they were too intricate or they were taking too much thought. So I did a whole bunch of like super easy, super fast hats. This one is called the Icehouse hat from Blue Sky Fibers. It's a free pattern. I did it out of a yarn called Willow and Lark because I wanted to test it. I wanted to see how this yarn performs. It's 100% wool, but have a feel. It's super like just soft and drapey. Again, this is part of my series of you said you were DK, but you're not yarns. It says that it's DK, and this thing just has like it has no plump to it, and it is not very thick. I knit the recommended amount of stitches, and it's crazy big. I should have done it. It feels so much more like a fingering weight yarn than a DK. Really? It's not even a sport. When you consider like your tank top is supposed to be a sport weight yarn. And then this is claiming to be a DK yarn. Right. And I just feel like it's really in between. Like it's really, I don't know where to group it.
I mean, I feel like with my tank top too, I knit really tight. Yeah. So it tends to feel a lot, my stuff tends to end up being a lot thicker than I think the normal weight would be just because everything is so just like.
I have a huge head. This is not supposed to be look at this. I've got like tons of room here. You could fit another person in this hat. And it's, I don't know. It's slouchy, but it's not, I don't know which direction I'm going in. It's slouchy, but it's just like, I don't know.
Would it be something like you could thread a little bit of elastic through the band here to bring it in a little bit?
Maybe. Or? I mean, you've seen me wear this once, and it's fine. And I'll give you this. You're not going to get a headache because it's squeezing your head too tight throughout the day.
It's not going to cut off the circulation.
You can barely even feel that it's on your head. So it's fine. But it was good to test out that yarn because I was attempting to see, like, it's a good priced yarn. It's on, I got it from Lovecraft. I think it's like one of their in-house yarns or something. So it's well priced. There's sales on it all the time. And I just wanted to see, like, if I wanted to knit a sweater out of this quantity, a sweater's quantity, if I wanted to buy a sweater's quantity to knit a sweater, how would it perform? And I'm not sure.
Yeah. I feel like you'd have to do a sweater that doesn't require the yarn to have a lot of structural integrity.
Yes, that's true. But I tried another hat that has a very visible pattern, and it holds the pattern well.
Okay.
So it's both drapey, but it also, like, if you do cables in it, the cables are going to pop. Because the other one is, like, a cabled hat.
Maybe a magnolia chunky.
Oh. Maybe not the chunky, but they have a magnolia cardigan that maybe I could do in that, because it's 100% wool, but it felt cool to the touch. Anyways, I'm glad I tested it, because it has good qualities that could be good for me, but I'm still not sure what to do with it.
Yeah. And I commend you for testing it too, because, like, I don't test anything. I'm just like, sure, this will be fine, and then I just go in. Like, I buy the quantity of yarn I need for a sweater, and then I just go in, and whether or not it works, who knows?
Yeah. You know, if I had bought that, though, I would not have... It's so different than what I expected when I bought it, that I don't know what I would have done if I had committed the way that you commit. I think yours turn out better. Anyways, we have another hat. Yeah. This is called the Give Me All the Cables hat. Ooh. It's super big. It's super chunky. This is a hat I did when I was deep into the... I cannot do anything on my... I wanted to win, basically. Oh, I didn't bring it. I did a soldat and a crop, and it had like a denim indigo edging. And when I blocked it, I didn't do anything to try to hold the color, and it just seeped all over all the other colors. And I was very upset. So then I just wanted something that I could do quickly and that would get some yarn out of my stash that I don't have any plans for. So I knit one of these guys. It's out of the Lion brand, quick and knit, something bulky and quick, something. It has quick in the name. So it's fine. It took like a day.
Nice. What size needle did you use? Do you remember?
I think it was a 9.
Oh, okay. Because those are some pretty big stitches.
Yeah. One more hat. This is the Antler Toque. See, it looks fine. We were trying to take photos of it, and it just was not behaving. But it looks fine here.
Yeah, well, the light's getting weird in my apartment right now. Since the sun's setting, it's getting a little fun.
I was watching... You know that woman who is in 13 going on 30? She's the best friend, and she always plays the best friend. And she wrote a book about how she's the woman in stuff that you don't know who she is.
And I don't know who she is.
And you don't know who she is.
I can't even picture her.
She's blonde. Anyways, she's a knitter. And she had an interview on one of the, Christy Glass Knits. And she was talking about how she knits for this... Lion brand has like a donation campaign where you knit blue hats as an anti-bullying thing, and I had blue yarn, so I was like, okay, I'll knit a hat and I'll send it to them. And I don't know what they do with the hats that you send them. Like, you can either knit a hat for yourself, and that can be
and post it and be part of that thing.
Part of the thing.
Okay.
Or you can knit a hat, send it to them, and then I don't know what they do with the hats. But one assumes they're going to donate them to charity. So this is my hat to donate to charity. It's also out of, I think, a Lion brand that I just had in my stash. And I had this blue, and then I ran out, and then I finished it with another blue. But it is the Antler Toque by tincanknits, and it was great. Very, like, I needed stuff that once I figured out like a good country song, once I figured out the chorus, I could sing it the whole thing through, because I just needed to know what the repeat was and then keep going with it, because I had absolutely no brain power to do anything that was intricate or detailed. So that is my stack of hats.
Nice. Speaking of Lion brand and things to donate, I started so I was traveling for like 3 weeks, and I got back, and work was crazy, and so similar to you, I was like, I cannot do anything that requires any sort of mental engagement.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
So I have all these projects that involve like intense cable patterns and all this kind of stuff and charts, and I was just like, I can't handle this right now. So
But I think your cabling inspired me to be like, I can't take on the level of cabling that she's doing right now. Let me just do a bunch of cabled hats. Because all my hats are cabled.
Yeah.
Except for that one.
So I have all of these 1 pound. Oh, it might not be a Lion brand. It might be that like red.
Karen?
Red.
Oh, Red Heart.
Red Heart. Yeah. So I have all these 1 pound balls of yarn that I bought to make. Thank you.
That's all right. Keep going.
Rugs with. And then I'm like, I'm never gonna get around to making these rugs. I want to get this yarn out of my house. And then YouTube was like, here's a tutorial on how to do a crochet feather stitch, and I was like, oh, that's a beautiful stitch. So,
let's see it.
So I'm making, this is a blanket.
Oh,
it's about the width of a queen size bed.
Okay.
And I have, I think at least one 1 pound ball of this kind of slate color. Then I have another one of a lighter gray, and I have one of white. And so I'm going to do kind of like an ombre blanket.
That's good.
And a feather stitch.
You've got tasteful colors.
And then I have a garish red that I was like, I don't think I'm gonna put that one in this one. I'll figure out something else to do that I can donate with the red. So when this is done, this will get donated.
Nice. It's a good stitch.
Yeah, it's a good stitch, and it's I liked that it's reversible, so it'll look the same both sides. And
you're going up, across. Like, how does this thing...
you just go across and then turn.
This way, back and forth?
Yeah.
Like a typewriter?
Uh-huh.
So then, whenever I try to make blankets, I'm always nervous about how I'm not going to make the stripes even. So I always pick things where I'm starting from the inside out, so when I run out...
Yeah, so that blanket will get donated, and, you were saying that, like, you're always worried about how the stripes are going to work out, and I was like, I kind of have equal amounts of all the yarn.
That's good.
So the stripes theoretically should equal out, but even if they don't, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm always doing the same thing I did with this hat, where it's like, I know I don't have enough to make a full color, and then I do it anyways. So that happens to me on blankets times 1,000, where I'm like, things are just all over the place.
And then I have one more finished object, and then we'll go on to other things. So I don't think I've talked about this one yet.
Is this technically finished?
Maybe. So this is the Valentine sweater.
I just can't stop touching it.
It's made out of the Woolfolk Far, it's big, it's cozy, it's long. And the shoulders don't fit right. They're too big, so they fall off constantly. So
can you just add a cord on the back so that it keeps it holds it?
Or what I was gonna do is maybe I feel like from here to here I might just need to like take it in a little bit there. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to add like maybe I need to add a button or something to gather it at the shoulders, or it just needs to be like, the problem is there's not enough to come up on the shoulder, and it doesn't close enough to hold it up.
You're gonna have to put it on and show me, maybe not on camera, but
yeah.
I want to see what's going on.
But yeah, so it just needs a little bit of problem solving, but other than that, it's done. It's all woven in. I steam blocked the collar so you can see the details.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, it's been so cold in our office, why hasn't it debuted?
Yeah, because it just would fall off. But yeah, so that's all my objects. And now we'll go on to works in progress.
Works in progress.
There are a lot.
We're gonna have to go fast. So this is clearly still a work in progress. You see everything dangling. This is called Magpie Tendencies. It's by Skenanigans, which is a super fun name. And I love the concept of it. She thought about, like, what happens when you fall in love with one skein and then you cannot figure out what else it goes with, or it's too special for you to want to just, I don't know, make a smaller project. You really want it to be a garment. So she made this pattern where you're knitting, it's fingering weight yarn, and you're knitting it like on a size 10. So if you'll stretch the bottom of it, once it's blocked out, it's gonna, you know, it's got a lot of give still. So it'll be a cropped shirt. And on me, it's almost fine. Like, I don't have to pull it down that much. So I don't think I'm going to have to, you know, force anything that would compromise the integrity of the structure. But it does have a lot of give. And this is Woolen Boon in the Robin Sparkles colorway. And then the top edge is just Madeline Tosh and Black Panther. And I'm so obsessed with this colorway because you can't really see it, but it's one of the colors that Woolen Boon stocks on their website. I just checked, even though they're down for remodeling or rebranding, they said. But it's so gorgeous when you're looking up close and you can see all the hair I've woven in. Right? Mine and the dog's. But it's got the all over mint color and then just sections of it where you're still seeing the like natural white, and then it's got pops of the black, but inside of that there's still like pops of these hot fuchsias and mints, and I'm just so in love with it. I think it's going to be great. So all I need to do is pick up the stitches for the sleeves, and they're like mini sleeves because this is kind of oversized. It's going to drop down a bit. So it's just like doing the black edging on this. And then it should be done. I'll be ready to block it. But my blocking pins are missing as previously discussed. I love this. I think, well, we'll see how it comes out once it's blocked. But I think it's such a smart idea, especially when you first get into knitting and then, you know, you just buy like one skein at a time because you're not sure what you're going to do, and then later on you've got all these one skeins. This is such a great idea. And she's got a different version of it where you could do two-tone, so like the arm and then 3/4 sleeves are one color and then the bottom half is a different color. And you know, if you had 2 half skeins or something like that, it could be a good option for it. But I just love it. Can't wait to wear it.
Yeah.
Hope it turns out. I've had so many failures.
I think it'll be good. It looks good. So my work in progress.
Virtual. Oh my gosh!
I know it's gonna blow out the camera. So I've been talking about it. You've seen this yarn before. So this is the Amelie, or I call it the Amelie sweater, like the movie Amelie.
I kept calling it Amalia. So
okay. And
I'm just gonna. 1 second. Like I want to see how sheer it is. Oh my God! Look at this. Sorry to yell.
So yeah, so this is where I'm at right now. It's both Purl Soho yarns. It's tussock in
highlighter yellow.
One of them's called lightning yellow. One of them's called cosmic yellow. I can never keep it straight. And then the other one is
line weight.
Line weight.
Is what it's
yes.
called.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
I can't remember anything.
It's fine. We're just short on time, so I'm like jumping over you.
So yeah, so this is how it's going so far. So, you know, you knit the front and back flat until you get to the arm here, and then you join and knit in the round. And so it's just alternating stripes of the mohair and the merino.
Have you put it on yet?
I have tried it on. Yes. Once I join the arms, I put it on. And yeah, it's good. It's definitely going to need to, you know, like it'll need some stretch to be when it's for blocking because it's a boat neck.
Oh my gosh, Marika.
And
wait,
then
just let's look at the color. It's so crazy. Like,
yeah.
That's how you're going to look. Mm-hmm. That's how you're going to walk around.
And then the sleeves are the merino with a cable detail, and they're like just below the elbow.
Oh, okay.
And so I decided originally I was planning on doing the full version, but now that I've seen how intense this color is, I'm gonna do the cropped version. So I have like about 2.5 more inches on the bottom here, and then there's some short rows on the back, so because the back's a little longer than the front. And then I'll pick up for the sleeves.
And you were saying that you've only done like one one of the tussocks in this?
Yeah, this is not even one tussock. I still have a bunch of tussock left, and then this is so far just one of the line weight.
Nice.
So I bought 2 of each, thinking like I'm gonna need a lot, but it's
you'll get into them, but you're gonna have a lot left.
I don't think I'll need any more of the tussock, but I might get into the second one of the line weight. And then the other thing is these aren't the correct weights of yarn that the pattern calls for, and so they're both heavier, so I had to go up a needle size. So originally it calls for a 3 for the ribbing and a 5 for the body, and I did a 4 and a 6.
That's not unusual.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And then it calls for a lace weight mohair that you hold double, and so, but the tussock I think is a fingering, so I just did a single strand of that.
It's still sheer.
Oh yeah, I knew it was going to be sheer, and that was part of the intention, because I knew the color was going to be so intense that I wanted that sheerness to help alleviate that.
Yeah. What are you going to wear it with?
Again, I don't know yet.
Okay, great.
A high-waisted skirt that I don't own yet. That seems to be the answer to all of these things. I just need to buy a bunch of high-waisted skirts. And A-line skirts. But yeah, and I knitted this I started knitting this, so I was in Scotland for 3 weeks, and I started knitting this on the train in Scotland, and then I haven't knit it since I've been back from Scotland, so this was all done in Scotland.
Nice.
And yeah, I got a lot of people being like, it was an intention grabber, and a lot of people commented on it. Like, normally if I'm knitting in public, people just leave me alone.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're the weird lady that's knitting in public.
Right.
But for this one, I had multiple people come up to me and be like, oh my god, what is that? Like, what are you making? How do you do that? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's an attention grabber. Yeah. For sure.
So it's fun.
I can't wait till it's done.
Yeah. I'm very excited about this one. I'm very happy with how it's turning out so far.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
And now I want everything to be neon. Yeah.
Well, when we were at this warehouse sale for Purl Soho, like, the collection of colors that Marika had in her arms, this woman walks by and she's like, oh, those are great colors. But it was like, it was all highlighter, brightest pinks, brightest yellows.
One was called Flamingo. That was the pink one. I had like a sherbet orange. Then
You had that bright mint at the one time.
I had a bright mint, I had a lime green, and then I had this one.
Yeah.
So it was just like, what are the craziest, brightest colors you have? I will take one of each.
Okay, moving on quickly. So I'm knitting a pair of socks, half finished object here. This is one of the, go this way, self-striping. I'm just obsessed with this little, like, what do they call it, a jacquard or something like that? But when it goes into this black kind of pattern. Anyways, this was a very affordable, quite nice. It's like, I think it was $7. It's definitely going to make 2, if not 4 pairs. It's going to make a pair. It may make 2 pairs of socks. Yes, you would never want just one sock. But this pattern is I have it written down. Late Night Socks by Karen Mitchell, or One Knit, Two Purl Two. I knit 2 purl 2. Okay. I can't even read my own writing. Anyways, this is in a Stylecraft head over heels boho in the Orinoco colorway. Hard to say. But if you were to knit a pair of socks, and it was your first pair of socks, and you wanted to do the heel flap and gusset, then I would suggest this pattern because it's free. Okay, we're back. So I was saying this pattern is really well written. If you were to knit your first pair of socks, it's a good one to maybe try. If you want to do the heel flap and gusset, or if you've knit socks before and you want to try the heel flap and gusset, I feel like this is a good one to attempt. And what I like about it is that the toe ends up a little bit more rounded than some of the other socks that I've tried. Sometimes the decreases happen so that you end up with like
a little square toe.
Yeah, kind of like a square flat top situation going on. In this one, it's just slightly more rounded. It's still got a little bit of corners, but it's good. And since I'm knitting them a little bit shorter in this section, than most people do because I've got very developed calves that stretch the bounds of socks, because I'll cast on 64 stitches, which seems the right amount of stitches for the rest of my foot, but then if I knit this too high, I just can't, it just feels really tight around the calves. So one day I had the epiphany, you don't have to knit as long as other people say you have to knit. You don't have to do 6 or 7 inches. You could do 3. And then it was eye-opening for me. I was like, oh, yes, these could fit me. It was...
I can customize this to my body.
Right. As if I don't know. It was a revelation. But anyways, so the second sock is already started, and I'm on the heel flap part. They're going super fast. I've got these tiny little...
Are those the little flip things?
No. The flip things were terrible. Oh. I hate them, and...
They're so expensive.
I would just give them away. If anybody was like, I want them, I would be like, fine.
If we have any...
If we ever have a viewer, and they ever comment that they want them,
let us know. We're happy to send them your way.
Right? I don't dig them at all. They just don't seem to be that useful. Anyways, this tiny little circular from Chiagu, it's a 1.5. It's the perfect size for me for 64 stitches to make a sock, and I sped through. Last night I had just the ribbing done, and I sped through all of this in 2 hours.
Wow.
And so once I finish this heel flap and I'm going down that toe box, I should be done with these very quickly. And it's purely because this tiny little needle, I can just keep going around and around and around. I don't have to mess around with double pointed needles or just pulling it out and keep having to go back for the magic loop. It's so perfect. Love it to death. I don't know how many inches this is, but it's not a lot. And
I have a tape measure here.
Oh yeah, look at my shirt.
8.5?
Yeah.
Maybe 9.
Needle to needle.
9. Point to point. 9
point
inches.
To point. And makes all the difference. Now I feel like I could go back and knit those other socks that we started this podcast with.
Neon.
Yes. With those guys. Anything else you got?
I've just been working on the Nightingale.
Show the bag.
Oh yeah, I'll show the bag in a second. So this is I'm working on the front. I finished the back panel of the Nightingale, so this is the front panel. This is where I'm at right now. It's in Wool in the Gang 101 spots. They're, I don't remember what it's called.
It's sitting right beside me.
Yeah, they have a bag of yarn over there for it. Shiny Happy Cotton is the name of it. And then, so I'm just trying to make my way through that. But this bag I got, so when I was in Scotland, I was in Edinburgh, and I looked up a couple of the knit stores before I went, and I only made it to one because the other ones, the hours on the website weren't correct, so I tried to go and they were closed. But the one store I made it to is a tiny little shop called Ginger Twist, and she hand dyes a bunch of yarn, and then she carries a lot of Scottish wool as well, and so that's where I got this little project bag. It's a Woolly Originals, and so it is actually made out of Shetland wool from Jameson's Shetland, and then it's lined with Scottish linen. And so this is actually a thistle pattern, which is one of the symbols of Scotland.
And you were saying that the woman who makes these, she knits the whole outside and then she sews it?
Well, I guess I found out it's actually she machine knits.
Okay. Because I was like, that's insane.
I mean, you still have to do a little thingy.
It's a thing.
And then it's hard to see, but there's a little, fun pattern of linen on the inside. Yeah. A little zipper. But yeah, so
fabulous.
Very excited about my new project bag. And then I also got, while I was there, this is one of the hand-dyed yarns that she does. And I was really fascinated because it's a blend. It's called Yakety Yak 4-ply. And so it's 60% merino, 20% yak, and 20% silk. And so I loved the color, and then I was really interested by the blend of fibers as well. So I'm excited to test this out and see what I could do with it.
Yeah. You have one skein?
I got one skein because it's pretty, pretty pricey.
Yeah, because kind of pricey in all cases.
But yeah, and then I also bought, where did it go? I had one other thing. Oh, and then I got some, undyed Shetland wool.
This
just
is
a little bit, and it's
so woolly for you.
It's real rustic, really, really woolly. It's basically like twine, is what it feels like.
It's not that bad. This is kind of what the this one that I knit up that was 100% organic wool. It kind of felt like this.
Yeah, this is 100% organic Shetland wool.
So tell me
what I've read about Shetland wool is like because of I don't know, maybe the properties of the wool or whatever, but it's supposed to be less irritating because of the lanolin levels that are in it kind of provide a protective barrier.
So you just touched it and rubbed your eyeball, so
we'll see what happens.
Good.
Yeah, because we'll see what happens with it. Maybe I'll try and make a hat or something, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe it'll make me break out. And then I got West Yorkshire Spinners, which is also a Shetland wool, 100% Shetland wool. I just like the color, so I got 2 of those.
Nice.
And we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my Scottish adventure, Ginger Twist. Check out her shop, her Instagram. She has some really fun stuff. She was very sweet. And yeah, it's a cute little shop.
I have a couple more work in progresses. One of which I am in love with, but I'm going to have to rip back a bunch. So this is the Flaum. It is by, one second, Justina Lakowska, and I'm knitting it out of Germantown yarn, and it is just I know it looks super rustic again, but it is so plump and soft to be 100% wool, and it's just like, I love it so much. Here's the problem. This is a fisherman's rib, and the construction of this is so interesting. You start on the back, and you kind of knit these sections out, and then you're like shaping the shoulder caps while you're going back and forth along the back, because it's an open cardigan with no button band, so you're like forming the collar at the same time that you're forming the caps of the sleeves and going down the back. So I've really loved. It's kind of like a little puzzle figuring out like how this is going to go together. But what happened is at some point, once you get under the sleeves, I missed one of these. The fisherman's rib, you're like knitting into the loop of the knit underneath, and then I think I missed it and ended up with just a knit, which made like a too thin section in the middle of this very plump, lush ribbing. So I tried to rib back. I put in a lifeline and tried to go back, and now I just can't figure out if I've picked it up correctly. Do I have everything right? So I've got these bridges that have, like this is a loose bridge, and I don't know where it goes. Like which section of this is it supposed to be, under or above? So quite confused at the moment, and I'm feeling like I'm going to have to rip back to where the separation of the sleeves happened and just start from there, or I'm gonna have to rip back even further, and then we're talking about like redoing this whole thing, because I just feel like I tried to fix a small problem and I've made it so much worse. And this was also part of it was going well, and it had a repetitive feel to it, so I was able to do it even though like I was very stressed about work and stuff like that. But then I hit this snag, and now I'm afraid I'm going to have to go back and fix so much more of it than I anticipated, which is upsetting. But on the other hand, like I love this yarn so much that I, in some way, don't mind having to knit it all again if it comes down to it. So I just have to bite the bullet and try to rip back some more and see how that goes. And then if it comes down to it, I'll probably only be able to save like this section up here, these 2 collar sections, and then have to redo all of this because I just can't seem to get it lined up again. Because it feels like one section is higher or like it's frustrating, but it's fine because I love it. And I was knitting it for one of the other podcasters, Valentine. She's got a practical where she's trying to knit things that are more practical for the wardrobe. And I need a good cardigan.
Yeah. I feel like everything I've chosen is not a practical wardrobe choice.
Right. So, I don't think I've done anything where I'm like, this is a workhorse, I can wear it every day. So this was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be done by now, but I keep running into this situation where I hit a little bit of a snag and then I just leave the project for dead. So I'm trying not to do that to this one. I've got one more. Earlier we were talking about my love of ponchos and how I'm very devoted to them as a wardrobe staple. Yet, currently I've only got one poncho because my other one was I had a couple that were store-bought, and then at my old apartment, I think I had a moth eaten away at my stuff, so now I've got a big order of cedar blocks coming in, but anyways, so now I'm down to just one poncho, and it's not enough for me, so I'm knitting this picket fence poncho, and I'll put up a photo so you can see what the real thing is, but it's just knitting it flat. And so this is the top edge, that's the bottom edge, and you knit from this shoulder and go around your body and then seam it basically along this top edge, maybe this edge, and then the side to, it's basically just a folded blanket. So I thought when I started this that it was going to be, I didn't realize how it was constructed. For some reason I thought it was being knit from this edge down, which doesn't make sense now that I know how it's made. It can't be knit that way because then the stitches aren't going in that direction. But for some reason when I bought it, that's how I thought it was going to be. So I thought I would get to do this lace section all the way across, and then I would get a break mentally, and then I would get to do this lace on the bottom. But no, that's not what's happening. What's happening is you're basically knitting it this way. So you're pay attention up front, you get a mental break, you have to pay attention on the back end. And in the beginning, this was a mess until Marika gave me the smart suggestion to put in markers where the lace pattern sections were being repeated. So that's why I've got these guys in here now, and it's made the world of difference. But once my life got super hectic, I couldn't even focus to do this little bit of lace work, even though I had these breaks in the center. So this is one that I want to get back to, but it's feeling like it's going to be a long-term project because I've only got basically 1/4 of my body done, and I've got to do this whole side, that whole side, this whole side, and it's going to be quite a thing.
And this is the Purl Soho. Is this the
Mulberry
Merino, or
no?
What is this?
This is the line weight. The same as the bright yellow one.
This one.
Yeah, so the same as that one. This I believe is in kiln red.
It's a great color.
Yeah, and that's just a guess because again, they weren't all labeled because they were on sale. So I'm just guessing that this is the color because it's got a little bit of orange in it. But I'm very excited. I think when it's done, this is going to be one that I wear a lot because you just throw it on over top of black jeans and you look put together even though you're basically just wearing a blanket.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Right? Just to wear a blanket. It's pretty much to go from ponchos in the winter to caftans in the summer and just
flowy and fabulous.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's what's going on here. I love it. It's great. I just didn't expect the pattern to work like this because I just wasn't paying attention. But it's good. It's going well. I love this yarn. It's very generous yardage. I know the Purl Soho seems very expensive, and I probably would never have bought it if we hadn't bought it on sale. But now that we have used it, I feel like I would definitely use it again, and I feel like the yardage is enough so that it makes it more practical than it seems when you don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would not be knitting, like, I think we got the majority of the yarn for at least 40% off. Some of it was like 60% off, so you're paying like, you know, and that's what made it possible for me to knit all of these projects in those yarns.
Yeah.
But I will say, I have really enjoyed the yarns.
Yeah.
They're very nice.
So when they are on sale, make an effort.
I'm not saying I would invest, you know,
full price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you can find them at a discount, it's well worth it.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. And if you can stretch and get it normally, then definitely do, because like I think we both just enjoyed it so much.
And to the fact where we've spent an hour and a half to 2 hours driving down to that warehouse to get it.
Yes. And I don't feel bad about that at all. There was great Vietnamese food involved as well. So, love it. Okay, this is my last thing. I had previously talked about knitting the minaret top, and I'm still very devoted to the idea of doing it, but the yarn that I was attempting to use to knit it, it was another Purl Soho. It was a silk. I can't remember what exactly the brand.
Is it that super shiny one?
No, it was the one that I got in green. The cattail silk. Cattail silk?
Oh.
Cattail? Cattail.
Yes, okay.
That silk, and I couldn't get gauge for the...
I got a version of that too. That's the lime green one I got, and I've been struggling with that as well.
Yeah. So, I'm going to try to use that one on the Boylan top, which
we'll talk about next time.
You'll talk about next time. But anyway, so I'm going to do the minaret, and I'm going to do it in this yarn that I bought at Stitches SoCal is what it's, so, you know, Stitches has a bunch of conventions. They had one here in Southern California, and this indie dyer called Teal Torch Knits had a booth, and she's in Portland. She was super nice. She had a friend there who had pom-poms, and there were, like, no pom-poms in this place, and I really love pom-poms. So, of course, I bought her pom-pom, and if I don't remember right now, I will pop a picture, or in here I'll note exactly what her Etsy is, and next time maybe I'll have a hat with her pom-pom in it. But she had great choices, you know, limited, but the yarn that Teal Torch had was just all fantastic. I wish you had been there, because she had some great neons, but in shades that were just like a little bit more interesting, like a little deeper, but also really bright. So I couldn't even choose for you. It was just, I don't know, I just thought you would need to see them in person to pick which one you wanted. But I loved this kind of lavendery, I guess you can kind of see it if I tilt it this way. It's like deep purpley lavendery color, and it's got these flecks of an even darker purple in it, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get gauge, because I've fully committed to a sweater's quantity of this to make the minaret top, and if it comes out, it's gonna go great in my wardrobe, because I mostly wear black, so yeah. This color is gonna be perfect.
You're also getting a lot of purple in your wardrobe.
I am getting a lot of purple, because I tried not to have any mauvey, they're not mauvey, but blushy kind of pinks this episode.
Yeah, after the blush and bashful.
Yeah, after the whole episode that was me realizing like, oh, everything I knit is in pink. So I was like, let's branch out. Let's choose some purples. So, purple for my Tecumseh, purple for my minaret. We'll see how it goes. That's it!
We're done!
Right?
So much stuff.
And then I have more stuff that I didn't show because it all went wrong. At least it's Soldana. So I'll bring it next time, and you guys can see that it's unsavable, and I don't know what to do with it, which is such a shame.
We'll figure it out.
I guess that is it. We gotta go before the battery and the light fades. So, if you watched, thanks for watching.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
Yes, it is the holidays right now.
We didn't even acknowledge my ceramic Christmas tree in the background, but
you have been so acknowledged now, sir. All right. Cheers, and happy knitting.
Happy knitting.